Hey, you, the best brain of Brightside. Your help is needed. Listen up. It was Amelia's dream to become the world's most renowned detective. But to get into the Global Detective Academy, she needed to pass a tough entrance exam. First, she got an image and had to spot what was wrong with it as fast as possible. Here it is. Look at it very carefully. Can you help Amelia figure out what's wrong? The electric clock on the table shows 10 a.m. But if you look out of the window, you'll see the night sky with stars. Something doesn't add up. As the next task, Amelia had to investigate the theft of an extremely valuable painting from a private gallery. 3 people had appeared next to the gallery before the crime occurred. Jessica, who had been sketching in her notebook, Oliver, who claimed to have been installing the lights, and Sophie, who said she had been simply admiring the artwork. Amelia immediately understood who was guilty. Can you figure it out? Look closely at Jessica's notebook. Among her sketches, there is a detailed drawing of the stolen painting. Most likely, she took it to copy it. The next trial for Amelia at a grand gala. Mia's diamond necklace mysteriously disappeared. 3 guests had come close to her just before it happened. Catherine looked like she was adjusting her hair. Sarah seemed to be texting on her phone. And Emma was picking up a dropped napkin. Can you help Amelia figure out who took the necklace? Whoa, take a look at Catherine's hand. She's holding a hairpin, but there's something shiny tucked in her other hand. It must be the necklace. 3 women, Alice, Bianca, and Clara, were having coffee at a local cafe. One of them was a millionaire, but she kept it in secret and went to great lengths to hide her wealth. Amelia had to figure out which woman it was. This test was supposed to check how attentive she was. Let's have a good look at these women. Alice is wearing a simple but stylish outfit. She also has a small, elegant purse and is sipping her coffee quietly. Bianca is dressed in trendy designer clothes and has a flashy handbag. She is talking loudly about her recent shopping spree. And Clara is dressed modestly in a plain white turtleneck and jeans. She has a plain leather-bound notebook. This notebook is what gives her away. Have you noticed that the corners of its pages are gilded with gold leaf? It's actually a luxury touch that most people wouldn't pay attention to, but which is commonly found in custom-made items for the wealthy. So Clara is that secret millionaire. Amelia's next task was very unusual. She had to help Jonathan, a renowned monster hunter. One night, he was called to an old mansion. People living nearby claimed to hear strange noises coming from the building. Jonathan told Amelia that the monster was hiding in one of the 3 rooms. The first room had a roaring fireplace, the second was a library, and the third was a dining hall. Can you help Amelia and Jonathan find the monster? Check the fireplace room. The flames are flickering in a very bizarre way, forming eye shapes. A fire monster must be hiding in there. And finally, the last task for Amelia. If she cracks this mystery, she'll become a trainee detective. At an art school gallery, a famous sculpture was found broken. 3 students were the last ones to be in the gallery. Mark was supposedly cleaning the floor. Lisa claimed she had been arranging the flowers. And Alex said he had been checking his phone. Amelia figured out who had broken the sculpture very fast. Can you do the same? Look at Lisa's flowers. They're fake, and the wires used to hold them up match the broken pieces of the sculpture's internal structure. So the girl must have been the one who tampered with it. Well, Amelia got the title of trainee detective.
Yes!
And this was her first real case, to pass a flash drive with secret information to an undercover detective from a different city. The exchange had to be discreet and had to happen in plain sight on a plane high up in the sky. The only problem? Amelia had lost the file with the information about the detective. Uh-oh. How would she recognize them? So our trainee boarded the plane and saw two flight attendants, Emily and Sarah. One of them was the detective Amelia needed. But which one? Can you help Amelia? Let's have a better look. Emily is wearing a uniform with a white vest and light-colored buttons. Those are standard buttons with no special features, so she must be performing her regular duties. But one of the buttons on Sarah's uniform is equipped with a tiny camera for gathering information. Have you paid attention to that red light? So Sarah is the detective Amelia needs. Amelia was called to an accident site. A young man was hit by a minivan, which sped away right after the accident. The guy was immediately taken to a hospital, but luckily he was okay. Even better, there were a few witnesses Amelia managed to question. They described the vehicle, which was pretty unique, and Amelia headed to the house of one of the suspects. She saw a car which resembled the one in the description, but when she talked to its owner, the man claimed he had spent all day at home. Amelia realized that the suspect was lying right away. How did she figure it out? Our trainee detective touched the hood of the car and felt it was still hot from the engine, so the man must have just returned.
Oh no!
A rich man's wife disappeared from the hotel where she was staying. Amelia, who came to investigate this case, decided to question her husband. The man was on his own island. When Amelia finally arrived there, he told her that he had been there for the last 3 months. He explained that he was writing a book and asked his family and staff not to come and distract him. He added that over the past several weeks, he had been working non-stop from early morning to late evening without leaving his bungalow. Amelia knew right away that the man was lying. How did she figure it out? There's just one thick notebook and a pen on the man's desk. If he had been writing as much as he claimed, the ink in the pen would have finished long ago. Amelia was on a train on the way to investigate her next case. She was lucky to have nice fellow travelers. They were talking when the train entered a tunnel. Everything was plunged into darkness for several minutes. When the train left the tunnel, John, one of the passengers, noticed that his diamond tie pin was missing. The passengers were shocked, but then Amelia announced that she knew who had taken the pin. She added that she had seen it, but it was dark. How could she see someone take the pin? One of the travelers had a watch with luminous hands, and when this guy moved his hand to take the pin, Amelia noticed it. Mr. Dillon was quite famous in the city. He had a store where he sold beautiful, rare vases. One day, the man called the police and Amelia got this case. When she arrived at the store, Mr. Dillon had his head bandaged, and the room was a mess. The man told her that some guys had run into his store and grabbed the money and the most expensive vases. Then they hit him on the head and he blacked out. Amelia immediately understood that Mr. Dillon was lying to get the insurance money. How did she figure it out? Even though most of the vases are on the floor, they aren't damaged in any way, not even cracked. But if the vases had fallen down from the shelves during the robbery, they would surely have been shattered.
Oh no.
It seems Amelia is going to make a great detective. What do you think? Share your opinion in the comments.
Detective James's vacation got cut short when a millionaire hotel guest was found unconscious, still holding a glass. Someone was behind it, and 3 housekeepers were suspects. Maggie wore rubber gloves. Eddie carried laundry, and Gigi held a broom. So, Who did it? Look closely. Eddie's laundry includes a white sheet with a stain, probably from the orange juice the guest was drinking right before passing out. He must have put poison inside the victim's drink. James heads to the pool to relax, but when he gets there, he's shocked. A guy is drowning and the detective is sure somebody tried to end his life. Can you figure out what happened? Take a close look at the stuff left near the pool. There's a single shoe here, but where's the other one? That suggests that this man got pushed into the pool really fast, and the person who did it probably knew he didn't know how to swim. A guest is now begging James for help, saying her wallet was stolen. The detective then asks to check the security cameras at the last two places she visited to figure out who the suspect was. Suddenly, he says she can rest easily. But why? In this footage, we can see that her wallet is under the table of the restaurant. She must have gotten up at some point and dropped it. Hopefully, a waiter picked it up for her. The vacay is over, and it's time for the detective to check out. The woman working in the lobby asks, "What's your room number, sir?" James decides to put his detective skills to the test with a riddle. He says his room number is a two-digit number where the sum of the digits is 12. The difference between them is 6, and the larger digit comes first. After thinking for a bit, she answers, 93. Well done. James lands at the airport, and it's time for the security check. They ask him to take out any electronics and liquids from his bag. He pulls out his toiletry bag and his laptop. But when it's his turn to go through the x-ray, his suitcase still gets flagged. Why? Remember how they asked him to take out all the electronics? But look, there's still an iPad in there. Once James gets to his destination, he overhears a suspicious guy talking on the phone. The guy says he's got stolen diamonds in a Chanel bag. The detective rushes to the baggage claim to hand things over to the police, but there are 4 brand-name bags sitting there. Only one is from Chanel. Can you guess which one? Here's a hint. Look for the first letter of the brand's name. Yep, bag number 3 has the real Chanel logo. James is finally home, and his neighbor is freaking out. She says she just got back from a work trip and her husband is missing. There's no sign of forced entry, but on the porch, there's a table with 2 half-full glasses of water. She's with a friend and the gardener's about to leave. The police think at least one of them might be involved. But who? Let's see. One of the glasses is definitely hers because she's wearing red lipstick. The second glass means she was with someone before telling James her husband was gone. The gardener's off the hook because his dirty clothes show he was just working. So that leaves her friend. Looks like he's her lover and they plan to get rid of her husband. A jewelry store robbery really shakes up the city. The cops catch 2 guys right outside the store. Both are wearing backpacks and each one say they were just walking by. James needs your help to figure out who the real thief is. This guy might look like a businessman, but he's the real thief. If you look closely, you can see a little bit of stolen jewelry peeking out through a small tear in his backpack. Now, an art gallery owner asks for James's help. He's convinced one of his employees swapped his most valuable painting with a fake one. He shows James a picture of the real artwork. Can you spot 3 differences between the fake one and the real one? Here they are. Nice job! In a quiet antique shop, a rare emerald brooch goes missing. The only people there at the time were an elderly lady and a young woman. Detective James is convinced one of them is the thief. But who? Take a closer look at their faces to figure it out. Turns out, the old woman is actually a thief in disguise, wearing a super realistic mask. The seam on her neck gives her away, and the shawl is just there to throw off suspicion. James heads to the circus to unwind, but the magician suddenly stops the show. His rare gold pocket watch has gone missing from his dressing room. James checks the room but can't find any obvious spots where it could be hidden. Can you figure out where the missing watch is? You can only see the tip of it, but the watch is actually tucked inside the magician's hat. Turns out, it's not a crime at all, just a very forgetful guy. But things in this circus are getting scarier. Now the clown was found lifeless in his dressing room. And there was a note on his desk that said, "If anything happens to me, look for..." and then he listed a bunch of words that seem random. James knows the message is coded and that the words on the odd lines are just filler. Can you figure out who the detective should be looking for? Let's cross out juggler, trapeze, and acrobat. That leaves us with the prime suspect, the makeup artist. The detective gets invited to this fancy gala. Everything's going fine until the big chandelier just falls and crashes to the floor. Luckily, no one was standing under it, but James has a hunch that someone might be behind it. Can you guess who? The wires were cut from above. Even though the floor is packed with people, only one man is trying to make a run for it. Look, you can actually see his leg trying to sneak through the emergency exit. James walks into his house, only to find a riddle written on his walls. The more you have of me, the less you see. What am I? Do you know the answer? The answer is darkness, says James. But as soon as the detective says it out loud, his lights are suddenly switched off. James's living room is now super dark, and he needs your help to switch on the lights. But only one lamp is working. Do you know which one? The wiring of lamp number 2 is all tangled up, so the cable may be broken. Bulb number 3 is burnt out. In number 4, the switch is already on, but the light is still off, meaning it's also not working. Lamp number 1 is the correct choice. The detective rushes upstairs to figure out who's behind all this and finds his wife chained to a chair on the second floor. To free her, he needs to crack the 3-digit code from the padlock. There's a clue left for him. The 3 numbers refer to your favorite secret agent. His spy name is James because he was inspired by none other than the famous movie character James Bond. And what is Bond's most famous code number? 007. Those are the 3 digits we're looking for. Now that she's free, James's wife points to the table, saying the dinner is ready. She looks nervous, so the detective immediately senses that something's off. This must be the work of the suspect inside his house. There are 4 plates on the table, but only 1 is safe to eat. Keep in mind that James is seriously allergic to seafood. Plate number 3 looks like onion rings, but they're actually fried calamari, so James has to stay away from that. The only safe choice is plate number 4. After pulling off a few more tricks, the suspect finally gives up and bolts out the door. Phew! Now the detective can finally relax in peace with his wife. It wasn't Sam's luckiest day. He woke up in a high-tech lab and found a bizarre note next to the sofa he was lying on. The tiny piece of paper claimed that the guy had to complete a series of tests to escape. First of all, he had to choose one of 3 rooms. The first room had a locked door with a security code. The second room was guarded by a terrifying robot that was supposed to charge at anyone who entered. And the third room had a timer set to 60 seconds and a large container with water. Which room should Sam pick to survive? He should opt for the third room with the timer and the container of water. He can pour the water on the timer, and most likely the timer will short circuit and shut off. Sam managed to escape the lab, but then he faced the next hurdle. There were 3 doors in front of him, each guarded by a different girl. Sam saw a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. Each girl gave him a hint about the correct door. The blonde said, "Choose my door if you want to get out." The brunette said, "The redhead's door leads to a trap." And the redhead said, "The blonde is lying." Can you figure out which door Sam should choose and why? Sam should pick the brunette's door. If the redhead is telling the truth that the blonde is lying, then the blonde's door does not lead to freedom. If the brunette says the redhead's door leads to a trap and the redhead is lying, then the redhead's door does indeed lead to a trap. Therefore, the safest option is the brunette's door. Sam got into the next room. There were 3 levers there. The first lever released a cloud of smoke. The second lever triggered an alarm. And the third lever opened a trap door. Can you help the guy choose which lever to pull? Sam should pull the third lever that opens the trap door. It may give him a way out. Meanwhile, the smoke and alarm are likely to be just distractions or warnings. So, Sam pulled the third lever. The floor disappeared from under his feet and the guys fell down into a dark tunnel. In a few seconds, he found himself in another lab. On the table, he spotted 2 beakers. One beaker contained a harmless liquid, while in the other, there was a dangerous acid. There were labels on each beaker. One claimed harmless liquid, and the other said dangerous acid. Sam knew that the labels could have been swapped. How can the guy safely test the liquids without getting harmed? Sam can pour a small amount of liquid from the beaker labeled harmless liquid into a test tube. If it reacts violently, then the label is wrong, and it's the dangerous acid. If there's no reaction, then it's most likely indeed harmless, and the other beaker must contain the acid. Soon, Sam heard 3 different sounds coming from 3 different vents. A buzzing sound, a whistling sound, and a thumping sound. On the table, he saw one more note saying, "The safest path is the one that sounds the least alarming." The choice is all yours, Sammy. Do you know which vent he should opt for? Sam should crawl into the vent with the whistling sound. It's less alarming compared to the buzzing, which could mean serious electrical issues, or the thumping, which might be some dangerous machinery. The vent with the whistling sound turned out to be safe, and Sam got into a lab with 2 doors. Behind one of the doors, there was a dance-off with a group of girls who wouldn't stop dancing. And behind the other door, there was the only exit. But how can Sam figure out which door leads to freedom? Can you help him solve this mystery? Sam should close his eyes and cover his ears and try to feel vibrations. They'll be coming from the door behind which the dancing competition is taking place. After figuring it out, Sam should leave through the other door. Finally, Sam was on the brink of escaping the lab, but he faced one last obstacle. 3 girls were standing in front of him, and each was holding some item. One of the girls was the lab owner, while the other 2 could guide Sam to freedom. Sam had to figure out which of them was the lab owner based on the items the girls were holding. The blonde was holding a mirror which could reflect the truth but wouldn't help to escape. The brunette had a book with a lock. This book could be useful but was currently inaccessible. And the redhead carried a key that could unlock the way to freedom, but only if it was in the right hands. Have you already guessed which of the girls is the lab owner? The lab owner is the smiling girl with the locked book. It indicates that she holds the secrets of the lab. The mirror provides no useful information at the moment, but the key held by the redhead can help Sam escape. He should use the key to unlock the door to freedom. After getting away from the lab and its insane owner, Sam thought that his adventures had finished. Unfortunately, it was just wishful thinking. He was just walking home from work when he heard screams coming from a nearby house. Sam rushed in to help. Soon, he found himself in a basement. As soon as he walked in, the door behind him slammed shut, and 3 portals opened in front of the guy. The first portal was filled with giant venomous spiders. The second portal led to a cave filled with scorpions. In the third portal, 7 hungry lions were waiting for their future dinner. Which portal should Sam choose to survive? The guy should opt for the second portal. Despite widespread stereotypes, scorpion stings are rarely life-threatening. If Sam is careful enough, he can get out of this tricky situation mostly unscathed. Unfortunately, the cave Sam ended up in was so huge that the guy got lost. After some time, he came across 2 people, a man and a young lady. The man had a large unkempt beard and was quite rough-looking. He also had a shovel in his hands. He said that he'd been stuck in the cave for a week. He promised he knew how to get to the surface, but he needed Sam's help. The young woman warned Sam, telling him not to trust the man. He was a criminal. She told Sam to follow her since she had been stuck in the cave way longer than the man. And finally, she had to figure out where the exit was. What do you think? Who should Sam believe? Sam decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for so long, why did she look so tidy and have fresh flowers in her hair? Right after Sam returned to his native town, a terrible storm happened there. It caused a serious blackout. Using the darkness, some criminals locked Sam away. The building where he was kept had 3 doors. Sam could use one of them to escape. But the first door hid a trap that would crush anyone as soon as they entered. Behind the second door, there were chainsaws that could cut anything into pieces in no time. And flesh-eating acid was bubbling behind the third door. Which door should Sam pick to survive? Chainsaws can't harm the guy because there's no electricity in the town after the storm. On a sunny morning, Sam decided to go for a walk in the jungle. All of a sudden, the path he was walking along split into 3 smaller roads. One led to a dangerous marsh swallowing everything and everybody that got there. The second road led to vampire hunting grounds. And the third path took travelers to an active volcano filled with red-hot lava. Which road is the safest? Sam should opt for the second path. Even if vampires did exist, they wouldn't show up in bright daylight. Hey, dear Brightside Detective, meet James. He's a regular guy, at first sight. In reality, very strange things tend to happen to him. See for yourself. Once James went swimming at a local lake, and guess what? One of the other beachgoers turned out to be a visitor from space. Look at these people attentively and help James figure out which one it is. It's the guy swimming in the lake. See that tentacle? It must belong to him, which makes him an extraterrestrial visitor. So bizarre. Luckily, he turned out to be pretty chill, and James made a new exotic friend.
Hello.
On the other hand, James's new acquaintance had a quirk. He liked making Earthlings crack his riddles. So, he asked James all of a sudden, "I'm a person, I'm a fruit, and I'm a bird. What am I?" Can you help our guy find the answer? The correct answer is kiwi. The next riddle seemed simple, but was it? It went like this. People buy me to eat, but never eat me. What am I? James actually spent quite some time trying to figure out the answer. How about you? It's a plate.
Oh my.
But James's new friend didn't stop. The next riddle was even trickier. He showed James a box and asked him to guess what was inside. Apparently, it was a color, but James could also eat it. What can it be? Inside the box was an orange. Luckily, James guessed correctly, so the visitor from outside the solar system gave him the fruit and let him be.
Yeah.
James breathed out and escaped from his weirdo of an acquaintance. He decided that after a nice swim, it was high time to go to a museum. He was looking at some pretty cool statues at the museum when suddenly he realized that one of them wasn't actually a statue. Which one was it? And how did he understand it? Look at the statue on the left. It has no wrist, so it must be the real thing. The head of the right statue has been replaced. See that seam on its neck? So it must be a statue too. But the one in the middle is a living and breathing human. Look at his pink cheeks and the drops of sweat on his forehead. Must be difficult to hold that arm raised all the time. At one point, James paid attention to 3 other visitors of the exhibition. All of them were very beautiful women, and James immediately fell in love. Yep, he's a very amorous guy. Sadly, one of James's new love interests is a vampire's wife. Let's save the poor guy and tell him which lady he should stay away from.
Oh.
The lady on the left might just have a very pale complexion. The one on the right is probably drinking some red-colored juice or cocktail. But the woman in the middle has been bitten recently. Look at her neck. So she must be the wife. Run, James, run! After having barely avoided grave danger, James decided to relieve stress and went to the gym. Beside him, there were only 2 other visitors, 2 young ladies. The one on the left is working out, and the one on the right is taking selfies on the latest iPhone. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which of them is indeed rich and which is just a make-believe. To understand it, you need to pay close attention to details. The woman on the left is wearing a cool fitness watch, which must be pretty expensive. Her training shoes are high quality but a bit worn out. It means she's a regular at that gym. Also, she has wireless ear pods, and a personal trainer is right next to her. As for the woman on the right, she looks flashy with her iPhone and jewelry. But if you look closely, you'll understand that this jewelry is cheap. And instead of sneakers, she's wearing flats. It seems she's never been to a fancy gym before, and she used a free trial entrance to take as many pics as possible. So the lady on the left is actually rich. Now, back to that orange James got from his extraterrestrial friend. He bought 4 more and gave all the 5 oranges to 5 boys he knew. They started eating the fruit. A finished eating before B, but after C. D finished before E, but after B. In what order did the boys finish eating apples? C, A, B, D, E. On his way home, James noticed that his neighbor's house was on fire. He also saw a firefighter nearby, but the man was just standing there doing nothing. Why wasn't this professional helping James's neighbor? Can you figure it out? Let's see how attentive you are. Have you noticed those pumpkins and Halloween decorations? The guy isn't a real firefighter and he's just wearing a Halloween costume. So James had to take matters into his own hands and help his neighbor put the fire out.
Oh my God!
The next day, James was invited to his cousin's wedding. But half an hour before the ceremony, the guy pulled his cousin aside and told her that her husband-to-be was cheating on her. How did he know? James spotted a lipstick stain on the fiancé's shirt, and the color was different from the one his cousin was wearing.
Oh no!
The wedding was canceled, and the fiancé got really angry. He locked James in a small room. To get out of there, the guy needed to figure out the password. It's the answer to this riddle. It can be hot, it can be cold. It can rush, and it can stay still. It can be hard, and it can slip through anything. What is it?
Oh my God!
It's water. After figuring it out, James was out of the room in no time. For a week, James's life was pretty uneventful until he got a call from a friend who lived in a different town. He claimed that a vampire family had moved into the houses next to his, and he was very worried. James couldn't leave him in the lurch, so he went there and found the right street. He saw 3 houses. James came up to the house which he thought was weird. Which one did he choose? A, B, or C? What do you think? Look at the footprints. Aren't they kind of strange? They lead to and from houses A and C. But what about house B? The footprints only lead in one direction, inside. Apparently, people come in, but they never get out of there. Creepy. James decided to check the house. He rang the bell. The vampire's wife opened the door. "A human, finally!" she exclaimed. "We need your help. Someone attacked my husband. Please find out who did it." James was shocked, but entered the house. He saw the vampire family. He asked them what they'd been doing during the attack. The brother said he'd been sleeping in his coffin. The son answered that he'd been cleaning his clothes and hadn't seen anything. And the wife said she'd been playing the piano. James immediately understood who had attacked the vampire. Have you figured it out? It was the vampire's brother. He'd said he'd been sleeping in his coffin, but this coffin is too small for him to fit inside. He's a liar. The vampire's brother got angry, but allowed James to leave. He even showed the guy where the exit was. But James saw not one, but 3 doors. The room behind the first door was filled with dangerous, toxic gas. Behind the second door, a huge rock was hanging over the entrance. As soon as something or someone got inside, it would fall down. There was a hungry tiger waiting for its prey in the third room. Which door should James opt for? The guy took off one of his sneakers, opened the second door, and threw it inside. The rock crushed the shoe, and James easily got out of the house through the second door. Do werewolves bother you every full moon? Do ghosts haunt your attic? Do you suspect that your neighbor is a vampire? Well, Amelia is the person you need. She's a professional dealing with supernatural creatures, and here's what her regular day looks like. Right after waking up, Amelia had a simple mental warm-up before a hard-working day. She counted how many vampires there were in a hospital room, and it took her less than half a minute. How much time will you need? Well, the blonde woman has a bloody stain on her cheek. Suspicious. The twins seem to be vampires as well. The first one can't stand the light. The second one's feet are covered with mud. He must have been hunting barefoot last night. The black-haired lady holding her neck is turning into a vampire, and there's also one more vampire hiding beneath the bed. So, there are 5 vampires in total. Next, she decided to figure out which influencer was a vampire. Can you help her spot the supernatural creature? The first lady has a big collection of sunglasses. Is she trying to hide something? But why would she have a mirror then? Vampires have no reflection. The second lady, on the contrary, has no mirrors. She doesn't need them because she's a vampire. So she has a rail to hang on when she turns into a bat. On the first real case today, Amelia has been invited to investigate a biting case at a wedding. Shockingly, it's the groom himself who's been bitten. The bride and her maids look pretty suspicious. The redhead has fangs. The bride has a stain on her dress. And the black-haired lady has blood on her lips. Who's guilty? Look at the groom's body language. He's trying to ask for help, looking at the redhead, so she's not the one who bit him. The bride was the one who was close enough to the groom to bite him and to get that bloody stain. As for the black-haired lady, she just seems to have some makeup malfunctions. Amelia went to buy coffee and found this boy. He got lost. Soon, 2 women, if we can call them this way, appeared in front of her. Both the vampire and the alien claimed that the boy was her son. Help Amelia find out who the mother of the child is, the vampire or the alien. Look at the toy the boy is playing with. It's a little alien, so it seems that the boy and the redhead alien are relatives. Amelia hardly had enough time to drink her coffee when a client wrote to her. He suspected that one of his 2 new maids was a werewolf. Amelia looked at the girls' rooms attentively and realized which one was a werewolf. Have you guessed? The room on the left is messy and untidy, while the right one is almost immaculate. But there's one weird thing. Look at the headboard. There are belts to keep werewolves in place when it's full moon. The girl occupying this room is a werewolf. Amelia went to investigate another case. Someone in this family secretly became a vampire and they bit the father a second ago. Can you help her understand who it was? There's something red on the boy's plate, but it's likely ketchup. He's eating a burger. The boy is drinking something red, but it can be simple juice. Look at the mother. She doesn't seem to be wearing any lipstick, and still, she's got something red next to her lips. She must be a vampire. Plus, she's the only person tall enough to reach the man's neck. A businessman called Amelia and invited her to his office. He was sure that one of his employees was a vampire. Look at these office workers attentively and find the one who's not human. The lady is drinking good old water, and you can see some drops on her chin. The man in a blue shirt is drinking soda. We can see some bubbles in his glass. The blonde man seems to be drinking some tea or coffee, but we can't be sure since his cup isn't transparent. One more hint that he's a vampire is extensive makeup on his face and foundation stains on his white shirt and the plate. It means he covered his pale skin on his face and palms with makeup. He must be the vampire. In the afternoon, Amelia traveled to the seaside to crack some cases connected with mermaids. For example, she had to figure out which mermaid was this man's wife. Have you understood it too? Do you see that tattoo on the man's neck? It's the letter L. The mermaid on the right has a tattoo as well. It's the letter J. They almost likely had the first letters of each other's names tattooed on their skin, so they must be husband and wife. While she was on the beach, Amelia was watching people, and suddenly she realized that one of them wasn't human. Look at these young people playing beach volleyball. Can you figure out who's not human? It's this girl. If you compare her with her friends, she's the only one who's not sweating and isn't red-faced because of the heat and exertion. Amelia decided to take a bus to get to the city. At one point, she realized that some of the passengers on that bus were zombies. Can you spot them too? There are 2 zombies on the bus. This man with a bandage on his neck and one ear missing. And this business lady sitting near the window. She's making bizarre growling noises. After arriving at the city, Amelia found out that a robot had committed a crime. Unfortunately, the police were unable to catch the culprit immediately. But they suspended 3 people, and each of them could be the criminal. They invited Amelia to figure out the true identities of those people. She had a knife, a screwdriver, a bottle of water, and a pen. Which object should she use to reach her goal? Amelia should make the suspects drink from the bottle. The robot will either refuse or short circuit. A scared store owner called Amelia, claiming there was a vampire in his store. When she arrived there, she couldn't find the store owner, but there were 3 other people inside. Look at them attentively and help Amelia figure out which of them is a vampire. Well, the first one's eyes are pretty red, but maybe he hasn't had enough sleep or is coming down with the flu. The second visitor seems to be freezing. Almost all parts of her body are covered with some clothing. Could be the air conditioning. But look at the third person. He's drinking something red from a glass using a straw. He must be the vampire you're looking for. Now, where is that store owner? Amelia decided to drop by her office, and coincidentally, a very pale woman covering a bite on her neck with her hand entered. She said that when she'd been going home the evening before, someone had attacked her and turned her into a vampire. She wanted to find the culprit. After investigating the case, Amelia had 3 suspects. Look at them attentively and find the one who turned the woman into a vampire. This elderly man has no teeth, so he can't be a vampire. This woman has tan marks, but vampires can't sunbathe. So the man wearing gloves must have turned Amelia's client into a vampire. Since it was almost the end of the week, Amelia decided to take a mini vacation and go to visit her friends in Miami. During dinner, they told her about a mysterious mansion with a very bad reputation. Those who once entered it never came back. Amelia went to explore the building. Soon, she realized she was lost. Suddenly, she found herself in a large room with 4 doors. Behind the first door, there was a mummy. Behind the second door, a vampire was hiding. The third door led into the den of a hungry wolf, and behind the fourth door, there was a ghost. Which door should Amelia opt for to get out of the mansion unharmed? The mummy can potentially be very dangerous. The vampire behind the second door is also far from friendly. The wolf, especially hungry, can easily attack a person. In comparison, the ghost is relatively harmless. Amelia should choose the fourth door. And which supernatural creature scares you most? Comment below.